So on the war front, what are we looking at? Because there seems to be two different versions. One version of the US, one version of Iran. Now, on part of President Trump, he is now insisting that he's not under any pressure to make a peace deal with Iran, but however says that one will be made relatively quickly. On the other hand, Iran has been sending mixed signals, says it has no plans for the next round of negotiations in Pakistan. However, as per reports, US delegation headed by Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to travel to Pakistan. Now, in a breaking update, what we are learning over the suspense on the second round of dialogue in Pakistan, Iran now says that it is unsure if it will attending the talks in Islamabad. As far as the Iranian Foreign Ministry has issued a statement and saying that they're unsure, and they have now called the United States to be unserious about the talks, and Tehran now seems to be drawing a clear red line over the talks, saying that Iran has to prioritize its own national interest first. So this is something similar that happened during the first round of talks. But Mayank, good morning. Will there be a new round of preconditions that would be laid by Tehran before the second round of talks?
Good morning. Definitely something or the other to put pressure on the other side so that the other side agrees to the conditions. That will definitely happen. So what you see is actually that same exercise is going on from both, back and forth from both sides. Whether they call of launching operations or they call of, pressurizing in other ways. So what you see is actually, just for sake of viewers, and they'll understand this point, is actually we can bring out the kind of trend which has been followed till now as far as that aspects of talk is concerned. Right before the mediation talks had begun, Iran was the one which had categorically denied of any such kind of mediation which is taking place between the warring factions. Imagine. And right before the first round of talks, as we had already brought out, it was Iran which was saying that they won't be categorically denied that. They would be attending the first round of talks. And at least in this case, they are using the word unsure, which means they have not denied that they won't be, or said it in so many words that they won't be attending it. Which means, yes, they can come in the last moment. And that is what the stance they have maintained last time also. They entered in the last moment, and that was officially brought out in the nick of the time. So same thing could happen this time also, because the person who is going to attend from the US side is the person who has been seen as a person who is with whom the Iran is ready to talk about this entire sensitive issue.
Yes.
See, that's the point actually. By bringing out all these facts and placing it before the people, analysis comes out that yes, talks are likely to take place. That was the analysis we can make out of these things. Whether it takes or, it finally happens or not, we have to wait and watch.
Well, that seems to be on the forefront, where both sides are continuing, to be on a standby mode, or rather in a wait and a watch mode, because it seems that first the US team has actually to depart for Islamabad, then Tehran will take up its time in deciding whether and who will be representing Tehran for the second round of talks in Islamabad. Let's in the meantime also talk and get you this basic understanding of when it comes to the threats that President Trump and his unilateral statements that often seem to contradict each other. What President Trump has now been saying that Iran violated the ceasefire agreement and fired bullets in the Strait of Hormuz, despite there being a naval blockade on part of US being enforced. And he's now saying that Iran is helping us unknowingly, using at least $500 million per day, which he says that it is unsustainable for Iran even in the short run. However, he's been saying that there are several ships that are now headed to the US, and in a sarcastic jibe, he seems to be thankful for Iran for that. Whether it comes to the ships that are now being, when it comes to deviated to Texas, to Louisiana, to even Alaska, and he says that United States is offering a very fair and a reasonable deal to Iran and hope they take it. But however, he says that there is no more Mr. Nice Guy conduct that should be expected on part of the United States, because they believe, and he believes, that the United States is not inclined for a ceasefire extension. Now, as far as Iran is concerned, Iran has also been hitting back the statements and the threats and unilateral statements that have been made by President Trump. And Iran is of the opinion that if the US is asking us to surrender unconditionally, well, he can continue to dream of it, because that is never going to happen. Iran has now sent out this third message to the United States saying that they will not accept the terms and conditions under shadow of threats. And this is now coming in from their Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf, who has been saying that US can continue dreaming about it, but it is not going to happen. So, Srinjoy, good morning to you as well. As far as both sides are concerned, in the face of it, both have been making statements, threats, counter threats that continue continue, but on the back of it, we are looking at multiple round of negotiations and talks that has been happening. And on the forefront is actually Pakistan. Whether it's civilian and military leadership has been holding these negotiations so that the next round of talks are successful, and it will be a big face saver also for Pakistan.
Yes, but all this brinkmanship does not help either side. It does not help Pakistan also, and it doesn't help the world. Because what it does is create a climate of uncertainty, of insecurity, and that is exactly what has happened. Of course, this kind of brinkmanship is absolutely natural to the American president. He does it very easily. The Iranians have followed suit, and as a result, statements are being made which can be very difficult when two sides are face to face. After all these statements, first of all, lots of things have been said by both sides. Then something has actually got done. It's one thing to say something, it's quite another to do something. Now, if we are to believe what we've heard, an Iranian ship was a blockade runner, was trying to break through the blockade, and an American ship fired on it and seized it. Now here, you're not saying anything. You're not saying anything that will ruffle a feather. You're actually doing something just before the talks. And this is something that will be again an impediment, again a hurdle for all the people in the room when they actually talk. Yes. Because they are going to bring this up and say, well, you've done this. And the other side will turn around and say, you've done this. So all of this will not lead to a very conducive atmosphere. There are still two big issues that have to be sorted out.
Yes.
One, of course, did not exist before the war happened. The open passageway in the Strait, regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Yes. Now that is an issue. The Iranians have realized they can weaponize it, and they have done it.
Yes.
So that's really the first thing.
Well, open the Strait of Hormuz, this closing of the Strait of Hormuz, then you open it, then ask NATO to come in. No, it is not happening. Okay, we never needed you in the first place. Then we'll open the Strait of Hormuz. Then Iran declaring that the Strait of Hormuz is open. And now then US imposing the Strait of Hormuz, now saying it is closed. I mean, there has been a continuous back and forth that seems to have been happening over the Strait of Hormuz. And the world entirely now knows what exactly and where exactly is the Strait of Hormuz. Well, globally speaking and knowledge, wise, that's a positive sign. But when we talk about the escalating tensions between America and Iran, as Srinjoy was pointing out, this seems to be another, when it comes to a contentious issue, and that is possibly when it comes to a China factor. Now, US has seized an Iranian container ship near the Gulf, and Iran has now vowed to retaliate, now stating that they will not submit to force. And amid the mixed signals that are now coming in, two teams that are now headed to Islamabad to achieve this so-called lasting peace is something that the world also entirely wants, because in a way it is being affected because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. So what is now being said, likely when the talks happen tomorrow, it is going to be the same team that represented the US and the delegation that is going to be led by Vice President J.D. Vance. Accompanying him would be Jared Kushner and also Steve Witkoff. And the similar team that is also expected on part of the Iranian side, the delegation, it was a 70-member strong delegation from the Iranian side that came to Islamabad when the first round of talks happened. And it was led by their sitting Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and also by the Parliament Speaker Mohammad Ghalibaf. So that seems to be the situation on part of the representation is concerned. But Tehran is on a wait-and-watch mode. However, it is now believing that till the time J.D. Vance is not in the air and is not flying to, to Islamabad, then it will decide on whether on sending its delegation to, Islamabad or not. But there is still a lot of uncertainty over the talks there, because J.D. Vance is now expected to leave for Pakistan. This is now coming through reports. And the kind of willingness that President Trump also seems to be showing, because he himself has not denied that if there is a chance, then he himself would visit Islamabad for the talks, because he believes that the other side, which is Iran, is willing to negotiate on the terms and conditions that US sets. So US Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to leave Washington for Islamabad. And according to what has now been reported in US media, two of the Iranian officials that are expected to lead when it comes to the talks in Islamabad, that is Ghalibaf, who is an influential political and military figure who represented Iran in the last round of talks. And he has, however, led this disclaimer that Iran would be attending talks if J.D. Vance is present and is the one who is leading the talks. So both sides, when we talk about the contentious issues, why the talks failed in the first round, well, Strait of Hormuz still remains as one of the top factors that may find itself, dragging in the second round of talks as well. So US, however, has refused to end the blockade till a deal is finalized. Iran, however, in a way is trying to monetize the Strait of Hormuz, saying that it needs that kind of financial assistance. Enrich uranium, President Trump making that unilateral statement that without any financial package, Iran has agreed to hand over its so-called nuclear dust. Iran, however, has been saying that enriched uranium is for civilian purposes and not to be armed with a nuclear weapon. Lebanon, that continues to remain a sticking point because this is the second round of ceasefire that has been announced between Israel and Lebanon, however, without Hezbollah. So will this be a factor that would be acceptable to Iran? And when we talk about, lastly, when it comes to the other sticking point, has been the ballistic missiles. US and Israel has been demanding that there should be a curb on Iran's ballistic missile program, while Iran has been maintaining that it comes under national security, hence it is non-negotiable. Now, in the meantime, let's talk about President Trump, because he's now been talking about Operation Midnight Hammer. Now, if we go back in time, June 2025, in that